why it's really important to have a plan and understand what your goals are.
In fact, my camel out there is suffering right now with a broken back.
So I actually found Pepe when it was only a couple of hours old, and I'm like, oh, this is a funny meme.
Oh my god.
Yo! Who is this degen?
The old man is swing trading over years at a time. And it's like, that's where the real money is made.
The answer is a permanent loss. With single-sided staking, you don't have to worry about the permanent loss.
If you're aware, if you're disciplined, you can hone that into further financial growth.
Financial freedom, to where you can actually live life and not have to be constantly living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, more or less, right?
Good afternoon, ladies, gentlemen, and D-gentlemen of all ages. We are coming to you at a very special time with a special stream for a special guest. It is none other than RHMax. Welcome to the show, brother. How you doing?
Oh, I got to despecialize myself. It's a lot of pressure coming on the DGen roundtable. Seen you guys do some excellent SciVive streams and otherwise, and always like to see people talking about all that stuff and supporting PulseChain. So I appreciate the awesome intro, though.
Hey, not a problem. Yeah, we wrapped up SciVive on book club recently with our very own co-host, aka Will Stevenson. How's it going, man?
Hey, bros. I'm just chilling like a villain, having fun, ready to hop on into this conversation. Yeah, man, it's been a long road with the with SciVive, covering it basically like one chapter at a time, dude. I know that I want to give you a quick little shout out, Zenith, for being nice and patient with us as we go through each one of these little basically collections of super duper like numerous quotes and things. So it was a good time. Glad to have you on, Max. Ready to hop on into this conversation, talk about some of the stuff you've done, bro.
Yeah.
And last but not least, we have our very own Brendan, the anonymous bean. How's it going, man?
What is up, everybody? Super happy to be here. Really excited to talk about RHMax. And, it's been an interesting week just in crypto in general. We have the SEC responding to Richard Hart. We have a lot of stuff going on. We have the CFTC saying that 80% of all crypto should be commodities, not securities. And things just keep slowly falling into place for the crypto sphere. And what does that mean? That means that people that are getting sued by the SEC continue to win. And I think that we might continue to see that here in the near future. And I'm very, very excited to see where we are going to be 1 year from now or even 6 months from now, because I think it's going to be a far different place. And the best time to buy is at a discount. So if it's a discount, might just be a good time to buy. Not financial advice, financial entertainment. But when there's blood in the streets, if you believe in a project and you got some dry powder, might as well buy some tokens.
With PulseChain, It's like we're almost bleeding out over here, man. Like, I don't know if there's blood in the streets. There's a bloody river. There's everyone's just telling each other it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Just hang in there. And then we don't know when it's going to be okay, but hang in there. That's basically the sentiment seems to be, or that's the positive sentiment. I'm going to get into the other side of it.
Delayed gratification, right? Isn't that what Richard Hart always preaches?
Yep. Yeah, delayed gratification mixed in with like a ton of uncertainty with every level. Everyone's like, oh, when ETH price go up? And then everyone's like, well, when PulseChain price go up? And then everyone's like, oh, why is Bitcoin dropping? And then we got SEC in the mix and presidential election, and it's just shaping up to be a crazy 2024. As I guess we had no expectations that it would be. Did we, or do we always?
Yeah, no, it's a good point. But also, we said this months ago that there's likely to be a dip for several months in the summertime. So this isn't, at least from our standpoint and from our community, isn't a huge surprise. Maybe the price of PulseChain, PulseX, and Inc. And how far it's drawn down is a bit of a surprise, but that the market is sort of dipping a little bit in now chopping sideways. It's not a bad thing. We've actually been saying that we had zero dips for so long as we're in up to 70K that it would be really healthy to have a pullback so that we can consolidate before we move up to the next point, because that's going to create a better sort of floor level and create more strength for us to shoot up and not just pop up and pop back down. So overall, this is, I think, good. It's just, it's hard when people haven't been through the cycle before, especially if you're having the Richard Hart bags.
I mean, if you've been through PulseChain launch, I was supposed to say, if you've been through PulseChain launch and all the stuff ups and downs with Hex and stuff too, again, it's like this layer after layer of, okay, how much do you believe? Okay, how much do you want it? It's like I've talked about this before. Like you almost you need it. Like you need to you know, it's not just a want anymore. It's like, okay, if you're still here around streaming or otherwise, and if you're not, you know, that's cool. Everyone needs a break every once in a while. But it's one of those, I don't know, delayed gratification to the max. And I hope that, I mean, if we can talk about this a little bit more if you want to later as well, but it's like all the, I hope all the, I don't want to say dead bodies. What's the right way to say this? Like, I hope all the pain that's came from it and all the people who have stuck with it or we've lost along the way, I certainly hope the glory story comes to pass. And it is one of those things where, man, it was just all worth it in the end. It is so hard. I'm trying to speak to like the community in general. I know it's so hard to see through the weeds and see through the forest and see all the things happening. But yeah, if you believe in the guy, the mission, the code, the community, then I certainly hope that we got that shining star at the end. But this has been one of the hardest times to see it for sure. And for me, the summertime is like a different dimension that introduces where it's really nice outside. It's like beautiful sunshine and weather, and I want to go to the lake and I want to go outside and I want to, like, you know, it's hard for me to even stay inside for streaming first of all, and then to work on some of the blockchain projects and stuff I've been doing too. It's like hard to be like at keyboard where it's when it's so nice outside. So maybe I don't know if that plays in the summer slump as well, but shout out to PulseChain community for sticking with it through summertime, thick and thin for the last couple of years.
Are you suggesting that when people get off the charts and maybe, I don't know, go touch grass a little bit, things like level out and the fear kind of goes away?
They stop buying. I don't know. Like, there's a good bad side of this, because it's like, are people less productive when the seasons you know, incentivize them to go outside and actually, you know, enjoy life, or is that like the necessary break? Like, I guess having that balance is one thing too that's kind of funny to think about. But yeah, anyway, it's been hard for me to stay inside, but it hasn't been because I need a break all the time. Thankfully, it's been because I just like to go outside and I like real life. So that's what I like to do.
Real life is pretty great. I highly recommend it. By the way, we do have some real life people in the chat today that we want to shout out. So Will, hold up the sign, please.
You guys already know what time it is. It's time for motherfucking chat shoutouts with our super duper high tech, high production value piece of laminated printer paper right here. So let's go ahead and hop into some chat shoutouts, baby.
For sure, the number one degen of the day, longtime favorite of ours, Centurion 54X, or 54 Cent, if you will, says, "What's up, degens? I got the GOAT, Mr. RHMax. Go Real DeFi is the best." That's right. I imagine a lot of people have probably used this website and some of your tools and don't even realize that you're the one building all this stuff. So hopefully trying to give you a little bit of shine on that today.
At the bottom of the website, I was thinking about this. I was like, does anyone even know, other than me tweeting about it and like do extremes about it and stuff like that? I still feel like I run into people from time to time that they don't know. I'll be like, hey, you know, do you want to talk about Go Real DeFi? I don't know if you know much about it. And like, it's funny. It's like, they always think it's like some new thing. Like they're kind of suspicious of it at first, where I was like, oh, you know, what is that? I don't know how to, and I'm like, and I don't want to be like, no, I made it, trust me. But I'm kind of like, no, this is, you know, if you haven't seen it before, it may solve some problems for you, may make things easier for onboarding otherwise. So it's always funny. I still get people today who don't know, even though I feel like I've tweeted about it so much, I did streams, I did videos and stuff on it. There's still more people to onboard. We haven't ran out of enough buyers for Go Real DeFi as far as using it. So that's pretty cool to see. And I look at the stats, you know, from time to time. I'll run the, you know, you can look at see the visitor count and all that stuff, and I see it's you know, in the thousands daily, weekly, as far as hits and stuff goes. So plenty of people are using it. So that's pretty fulfilling when you build something you can actually see with the data, not just like hear people talk about it, but actually see with the data that people are using it. And I rely on it to use IPFS stuff. Like I rely on it to get all my favorite links to playlists and videos and onboarding. And, you know, I put the faucet on there recently as well. So it's nice. I want to say it's my second favorite site. I don't know. I hate to say it's my first favorite because I'm biased. If I remove that bias, I'm like, it's probably my second favorite other than GoPulse. I feel like GoPulse is like the best site in the PulseChain if I had to pick one. But Go Real DeFi is probably the one I use the most, if that makes sense. Go Real DeFi is like the most important. GoPulse is the most important to me. But Go Real DeFi is the one I probably use more, or it's pretty close between the two.
I would almost kind of inverse it a little bit there, but I think you're right on the money, which is that, like, I know, like myself and many other Pulsekins and Hexkins, we look at GoPulse.com on a daily basis, but then as far as actually doing things, yeah, Go Real DeFi is a super easy option. We will put a pin in that. I do want to come back to this at some point later on, talking about the whole decentralization aspect. But other than that, we still got a few more chats to get through, and we'll get right back to the show. So we also have our very own The Ascending Man from DGen Roundtable, aka Nate. What's going on? He says, I'm currently working in a downpour. Well, stay dry, brother. Keep stacking dry powder.
Don't listen to Zenith. Do difficult things.
I mean, look, depending on the kind of work you do, 440 volts doesn't like to play nice with the rain. I'll just say that much right
I was
now.
going to say, is that
That's true.
literally or figuratively? A downpour like it's raining where he is, or downpour as in like price go down?
I think it's
Either way,
it could
literally
be.
raining
Either
on our
way.
man right now.
Could be
Oh.
both.
True. All right, up next we have another one of our own, Agent J. Another guy also stacking dry powder right now. He says, looking forward to this one, as are we, and we hope everyone else is as well. Up next we have Fox Mulder saying, to the max. Double X's. Big fan. And then, of course, we have the number one cheerleader in the entire crypto space. I will continue to say that. And that is Tam. She says, what's up, fam? Good to see you, Tam. Thanks for joining in. Even though, yeah, early stream today, but we're happy to have you. Alrighty, on to the meat and potatoes, if you will. So, first thing wanted to get out. We also have Gains by Casey. The chat says, good afternoon, gentlemen. Glad to catch the live. Glad to catch you as well, brother.
Live streams are
All right.
awesome. I will say that it is cool. Like, I don't watch a lot of people live stream. I watch you guys and a few other when it comes across the feed. But when I see people live streaming, that's one thing our community does really well, or at least has in the past. I know it's dropped off a little bit because what are we going to talk about other than this thing is it's kind of interesting, but also how do we balance that with price go down and like who's going to like the other drama that happens from time to time. But anyways, our community, I feel like, is one of the best live stream communities, and that is a huge advantage for us, especially when things get going.
I will
absolutely.
say, yeah, big shout out to the community, and big shout out to all the people out there who create the websites and run the telegrams that announce when like a lot of the folks in the PulseChain community are like going live. Like I'm going to give it a quick little shout out to, I dropped the link in the chat, the t.me/the pulse tube. They all that you have to do if you're a PulseChain streamer is you just reach out and message the guys that run that show, and then they will throw your channel into their little algorithm thing, and it sends out a notification whenever any one of these guys go live. Like if you don't want to use the YouTube notification system, you can use the Telegram notification system. It's just one more of those little things. And then I know there's another PulseTube website thing where they have like a list of all the streamers and they show like the scheduling, and it's kind of like a TV guide program or something. We can check it all out. But hell yeah, shout out to the information amalgamators out there. I love it.
Will, you're showing your age if you're talking about the TV guide channel. That was, that's a throwback.
Yep.
Will, it's QVC.
True. Alrighty, so first thing I wanted to cover with you real quick is we wrapped up SciVive here, and we had our takes. We wanted to ask you, the guy that wrote the entire blog about it, what your take was on the book. So if you had to like boil it down to a single centralized message, what do you think Richard Hart's the point of writing that book is? What is he trying to communicate?
Well, I would start off by saying that for a lot of people to read it, it's one of those. So I first read it. I remember reading. I printed it out, the unedited version with only editor notes. Reading on an airplane, like, God, it's got to be 5 or 6 years ago. Right after I came across Richard, and back then it was like, okay, it didn't feel like it was written as a book. It felt like just a bunch of like collection of ideas and notes and conversations and stuff, or thoughts, I guess you would say. And then eventually I found out that it's when wrote it is kind of a misnomer in a way, because he literally, the entire thing was, you guys probably know this, it was a voice collection. It was like a voice notes collection, and it was converted into converted into audio by SJ later on, but converted into a book format and chapters and all that stuff too. So when people read it, I think a lot of times they come across as, oh, this is it's not, I don't want to say I don't know how to properly put it in a category. It is kind of like one of those unique pieces that came from, I think the only thing I can compare it to is like Naval. Have you guys read Naval Ravikant's Almanac of Naval Ravikant?
No, but we've got it in our book club suggestion things.
Yes, please. That's one of my favorite books for what it's worth. But it's literally a collection of tweets. A guy took a collection of tweets from Naval and then made a book from it. So it's not written, when you write a book, I've never written a book or never published one at least. It's like you usually have a purpose, you have a story, you have a narrative, you have a bunch of examples you want to drive home, and you want to get a message out. With SciVive, it's more of just like a collection of ideals and written from like a vocalized perspective. So it's very unique in that way. So I just wanted to frame it for everyone who gets into it. It's not like this book you pick up and you're like, oh, like it's an instruction manual. No, it's more of like a discussion of ideas from, one of the, hopefully will become one of the greatest men out there, from, Richard, of course. from what he achieves and what he wants to achieve, and what being a force for good in the world, and all the stuff that he's talked about, and what he wants to do, longevity, all this stuff too. So, anyways, I want to frame it like that. But I think one of the biggest, man, I feel like I've read SciVive and listened to it on and off for the last few years, and I'm trying to give you something that I haven't put in the commentary already. I haven't already discussed. If I were to summarize it and how it can have an effect on people, it's kind of to me, it's some of the stories in it, they sort of open your mind to what is good for the world. I feel like that's what the message is. If there is a message to derive from it, is there's this guy, rumored to be a billionaire, super smart guy, he has all the stuff. He's in the crypto, and he used to be Bitcoin Maxi, and he has all these successful businesses, and it's a very interesting life story and all that. If you were to take someone and who could lay out all of the things they think are good for the world and all the success they've had, and tell you, kind of give you the formula for either doing it or how to think about it, I guess that's how I would explain SciVive. Is you take a really smart, experienced person with ambitious goals, and you get them to vocalize how they did it and how they think the world should work. That's the best I got for SciVive.
Makes sense. I think the personal takeaway that I got from it was that the point of the book is not to make you an expert in any singular topic, but the underlying thread through every lesson and every idea was that you can be more efficient with your life so that you don't waste your life, which is don't focus on things that don't matter, don't do things that don't matter, and really optimize your life for the life you want to live and what you're honestly best at. That's what it was. Because a lot of the stuff is there's no need to. Yeah,
I'd say that's the other piece I'll put in there. Focus. You hit it. It can show you how to focus if you need that sort of area as well. But yeah, that's the other piece of things missing.
Yeah, one of the constant lessons was don't reinvent the wheel. It's we live in the 21st century. Just kind of accept that and move on with it. It's a blessing that you stand on the shoulders of giants, not that you have to step down and then climb back up yourself, which is especially as we move more into the future with AI going on and then all the different tools. One of the lessons in particular was calculators, which was back in the day, 80s, 70s. I mean, obviously I don't think any of us here are that old, but it was that having a calculator in the classroom was unheard of. And then even moving into the 90s and 2000s, having calculators graphing calculators, the old TI-83, it's more of a tool, but at the same time, you have to be able to do basic functions. But now that we're so far past that, everyone has a calculator in their pocket at this point, and you can pull out and do anything you want instantaneously, and some pretty advanced functions as well. So one of the messages that I got was try to apply that concept to your life, which is education. You don't need to be a database and an encyclopedia for just memorizing things. The main point is be a synthesizer. Be able to understand these topics at a general level, and then combine them, and find ways to bridge the gaps where other people have not bridged those gaps before.
I like that. And that's how that was my tagline for a while, was synthesizing wisdom from Richard Hart since 2017. And when you said synthesize, I was like, that is a great way to put it. How to take information and make use of it and make it useful for you, and not just this generally applicable stuff. That's what I like about it. He really tells these stories that help you relate. And even if you haven't experienced before or don't think you want to go in that direction, I think in the thing he talks about, does he say this in SciVive, or is this, see, I've listened to so many streams. I don't know what I've learned from SciVive and what I've learned from streams. So I remember him talking about, what kind of job should you get? What kind of career should you pursue? That type of thing. And he talks about sales, sales because you're closest to the money, and you have all these different skills you can use from and all that stuff. I don't think I could ever be a salesman. And I've changed my view on that. I've changed my view on sales over the years too. I used to think it was coming from an engineering background, sales is the people you don't want to talk to. Oh, they're just trying to, there's these they're just trying to sell you something, right? They're just, but in a deceptive trick kind of way. But there's actually, being a good salesman can, in all different forms, whether you're actually doing it for a living for a company selling a product, or you're selling yourself, or selling your ideal or whatever it is, that kind of skill set, it can be used in a deceptive way, but it can also be used to gather people and get them into a movement. Hey, Hex, right? The community, form a community. Let's form another community. Let's broaden it out. Let's scale it out. Let's make these ideals come to life. So I think that's one of the perspectives to change for me too, after SciVive and after listening to Richard for so long, was just the ability to see the bigger picture, not so much focused on like, what is the truth? What is the objective truth all the time? The narrative can be even more important than the truth. And I say that not in like a deceptive way. It can just be so much more powerful because people want a story to believe in. And if you can give them something that's healthy for them to do and achieve financial freedom, being a force for good in the world so many different ways, like that is like something that can get them on board much faster than being like, well, I can't promise you anything, but I have this, thing going on, that sort of thing. So it's still not something I'm good at, but I've learned to respect it so much more after going through all that content.
Can I touch one base on sales since it's what I do?
Do it. Take it away.
For me, I think that our perception of what a salesman is goes back to that, squeaky wheel.
Squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Yeah. The used car salesman. And I think that for a long time, selling snake oil, right? We kind of keep going back to those type of salesmen. But in every type of industry, you're always going to have the bad actors, right? And those are the ones that kind of make a name or a bad name in some cases for a profession. For me personally, I've been in sales for 20 plus years. Now I sell surfacing materials. So there's some expertise that go into my job, which kind of in all sales. But to me, I always tell people when I'm training, because I do a lot of trainings and I teach a lot of people, how to sell. It's really about building relationships. When you talk about building a community, how do you build a community? It's starts out small is building relationships. And that's the same thing in sales. Your clients are going to start small as you slowly build those relationships and they trust you. They're going to introduce you to other people and you're going to continue to build those relationships and you're going to build a community of customers. And if they can't trust you, then yeah, you're probably not you might be a great fast talker, but you're not a good salesperson or you're not a good salesman because it does come with trust and it comes with expertise. And that's why people come back to me as someone that sells products.
True. I think I was actually, Max, I'm in your camp because I'm also an engineer. And I think I initially started off at the point where it's like the best product should just be the best product and it should sell because it's the best. But unfortunately, it's a bit of a fallacy, I think, which is that a lot of people don't think about, yes, you can have the best product, but your product can't advocate for itself. Unless people see it out there, or they hear about it, or they know in some way that it exists, it's still going to sit on that shelf no matter how good it is. So it's kind of this mental bridge you got to gap where it's like, yeah, are there bad actors in the sales space? Yeah, for sure. But I mean, that's been going back as old as time. People have been trying to sell camels dressed up as horses for millennia at this point. So it's really a question of like, understand the world that you operate in and do the best you can. That's how I've bridged that gap myself.
And if you have the best product, but nobody knows about it, then how are they going to know that it's the best product? Right. So there has to be that information gathering because look, there's so much out there. I could be selling the best product or I could be selling the best service and maybe my product's not as good. But it's better for you because of the service that I provide you on the back end. But nonetheless, people aren't going to know that your product's the best unless you tell them about it and tell them why. And it's no different from the Richard Hart ecosystem. I feel like we are in a very, very strong, technically sound built, first of all, technology, right? All the different coins. But also we're built a very strong community. And that starts with our founder who got famous doing what? Streaming, right? And so I think that's why
I'm going to say twerking.
Maybe more recently.
One guy's sales strategy.
I was like, wait for it. Which one's he gonna say? Yeah.
But I think that's why our community is so into streaming because that's what Richard Hart was so well known for early on.
I never thought about that. Yeah, his influence on getting people to live stream is I've never thought about how influential that is. But you're right. Yeah, like would we have whatever a streamer number is? You can say 100 plus content creators or 70 plus streamers or whatever it is. Would we have that many people if Richard he was just a normal YouTube person, just made videos and uploaded every once in a while? Like, would it be the same? Probably not. Like, how different would it be? That's an interesting point.
One of the interesting thing too about sales, I'm of the camp that like every single human interaction is a sale. The people that are listening to us right now, we are pitching the idea of sales to them. There are our prospects, our customers, right? Every time that two human beings are interacting, whether they're talking by a campfire or whether it's like a sergeant leading the troops or whether it's the president dealing with the maid under the desk, right? Everything is a sale. Every human is trying to like you were saying earlier, Max, pass their ideas on to other people, get other people to see things from their perspective, try and get them to take some sort of action or do some sort of thing. So if like sales is just like, when you boil it down to first principles, it's just effective communication. So if you're not able to effectively communicate with other people, then you're going to have a much less like high leverage life than if you learn how to effectively speak with people. And so like learning about sales and learning about marketing, learning like the skills of copywriting, learning the skills of like making ideas digestible and palatable for like whoever your specific target audience is something that will just give you huge dividends. For the folks at home who don't know anything about sales, I highly recommend you guys go check out some of the stuff that Richard Hart's done, Alex Hormozy, Grant Cardone, Jordan Belfort, who are some other good salesmen? Those are the ones that I can think of right now because they're content creators. What's that?
Ty Lopez, whether you like him or hate him.
Yep, Ty Lopez. Talk about whether you love him or hate him. He is effective. He's good at doing his thing. Or like like scale back in history. Freaking this is a bombastic example, but Adolf Hitler was a good salesman, right? Dale Carnegie, or not Dale Carnegie. Was it Dale Carnegie? Andrew Carnegie? Whoever wrote the book How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Dale Carnegie.
Great salesman. Yeah, Socrates, good salesman. Everybody that you know about that is like right now dead, they were good salesmen, or they had somebody on their team that was a good salesman because you were able to like find their content and eat it. Like think about how many people there are sitting 6 foot under that are dead that had these fantastic skills that nobody ever knew about because they never like we were saying earlier, they never had the ability to market their product or their service to the world, and they didn't like build a legacy, that didn't build a history or anything. So there's tons of people out there that are great at doing stuff, but nobody knows about it because they're not out here like, screaming into their webcams and telling the world about the stuff that they do. So I highly recommend people learn the sales and learn to stream and do all the stuff that is just basic good communication.
I think one key is breaking it down where it's not just about selling money. Like not the currency isn't always money. It could be status.
Yes.
It could be influence. It could be gaining, like creating a community. It could be getting people to like an idea or otherwise. So I think when people hear salesman, at least I did a long time ago, it's like, this is someone who is wanting to influence me into doing something that I may or may not need or want, or they want to speak the same language. Engineering and sales don't speak the same. Like it's very hard to bridge that gap. That's why you have like other people in the middle a lot of times, or you have people that are really good on the engineering side going to those meetings and so on. But it's not always about a currency. And it's not always about getting you to. I guess it's more about influence. I would say thinking about sales instead, removing money from sales and putting influence in there. Like it's about influencing one way or another. And that's where it could be more palatable to people who come from like a technical background, where it's like, no, this is something that I want to learn because it's going to help me be more effective or effective at all. Versus, it's just like this skill that only people who, on that side of the company use or otherwise. I don't want to be a part of that. You're missing the point. You're missing like the part of the narrative that gets stuff done when you look at it that way. I used to be one of those people.
True. By the way, perfect segue, because one of our very own Agent J with his most recent comment, Mrs. Producer, if you don't mind pulling that one up, he also agrees. He says, time and trust are two of the most important forms of currency. Time cannot be printed into infinite like fiat. Trust is easy to lose, difficult to earn. So yeah, Jay's tackling it from the other standpoint, which is that the other thing that you might be selling with sales is trust. You're building trust. It might be awkward to think of it in like a sales thing, especially if you have a jaded view on it. But at the same time, you gotta give some to get some. It's sometimes, So
I'm going to do a little shameless self plug here. So I've written a book. It's more of an extended blog post that I used a whole bunch of AI for storytelling for, but it's called The Ledger Must Balance, and it basically talks about these concepts that there's more than one type of like value transaction that we have in the world. And it's like you guys were basically saying earlier, you've got time, you've got money, you've got attention / energy, you've got your health, you've got your brand, and then you've got like physical resources that are all over this place. And what that little blog article or that little book is all about is stories of people trading different things to get other things. And I would highly recommend people not necessarily read it because it's not that interesting, but like just think about the concepts of like, what am I trading in order to get something else? Like when I go to McDonald's to get some fast food, I'm trading my time like going out to the grocery store and buying, you know, healthy food and stuff. I'm trading my time in and I'm trading my health. So that way I can get a quick meal at like a slightly more expensive price or something like that. So I highly recommend folks think about the mechanisms. I call them the pillars of value in this book, but like the pillars of value that we trade for other things. So
yes. I really respect people who are good at sales. And again, that's one of the things I've came over. I went through it when I first started streaming. I used to talk about it a lot. I went through health, wealth, wisdom journey. And part of that was with SciVive. Part of that was with Naval and his work and stuff. And part of that was with, I started doing fasting and all these different things just to, you know, become a better version of myself. Like that's like one of the things I think is really important. And again, I just wanted to say some of the people I was just thinking about. The other day I did a post on like my five favorite people in the world, or 5 people I think are the most effective or doing good or I support or whatever. And I was thinking about how much sales they do and how good they must be. And like, just real quick, Richard, Naval Ravikant, Alex Ramosi, Peter Thiel, and Sam Harris, like 5 are the most important people I think in the world that I relate to the most, that I think are doing great work in all these different ways. I don't agree with them on everything, but I think what they're doing and their message and their products and all that stuff is great. And when I think about all 5 of those people, I'm like, they are super good at sales. Doesn't have to be on selling their product, but even like every vertical you could possibly think of, they're able to be super effective at it. And that's good through good sales and good influence.
True. All right. I think we've beaten up the SciVive topic pretty good. I want to dive into a little bit more of Max, what you find interesting and what your kind of state of the pulse chain is, so to speak. So wanted to have a discussion with you. The way that you see the pulse chain, the blockchain itself, and the community to that standpoint right now, are there any, what do you think are the strengths and weaknesses, and are there any gaps that are missing that like projects you're yet to fill, or there's maybe a tool, or we just haven't had events or haven't talked about certain things? What's your lay of the landscape?
PulseChain State of the Union address. Should I
here it is.
Should I make this presidential? Should I start falling asleep or sputtering or otherwise? Never said that. Anyways, yeah. It's interesting. It's been one of those, man, I'm trying to like zoom out. And that's something I think is really important to, you know, every time I hear somebody, you know, post or tweet about like, Bitcoin sucks, Hex is better, or Ethereum is like that. That's like, yes, you know, why are you using Ethereum? You're so dumb. Use PulseChain. I really like to zoom out and like think about Bitcoin was, I promise this will be relevant. I'll tie it back in. Bitcoin is one of those, it was, I mean, peer-to-peer digital cash. It came first. Everything else came before. It was crypto before there was any other crypto. Ethereum, world computer, world changing, created so much value, still kicking ass out there. Just because their products are special to us, we believe we've seen them solve problems, and that they are, they, you know, have a value narrative. They have product market fit. They have a founder aligned for glory. They have all that stuff. We can see that, but everyone else probably gonna have a hard time if they even like crypto. That's the first layer. And once they get past that, what they want from it? What is it going to do for them? Maybe they like DeFi, maybe they want to gamble, maybe whatever. And then a layer after that is kind of like, okay, well now they got to pick an ecosystem. Which one are they going to pick? And if somebody tells them, they somehow find out about Hex or PulseChain through websites or marketing or people or referrals or charts or whatever it is. And I'm just thinking, I can't remember the last time I ever looked around for a community. But I know if I found a community that seemed to be in disarray, I might just not go to that community. I might just keep going, keep scrolling, I'm going to look for another product and see, because these people are yelling at each other too much. So I really appreciate that the builders in the community and the people that can be attracted here and stay long-term and not be, you know, fudded out. And when I say fudded out, it's like rightfully so. When they see certain stuff happening, they're like, what am I supposed to hope for at this point? Like, I just got here. I've been here 3 months. You know, what am I supposed to hang on to at this point? Like, I really hope that we can turn the social media game back around and be much more positive. I see people out there posting some really good stuff, much less these days. But I think if we're talking about the state of PulseChain and stuff, I think at this point, it'd be really good to everyone just like zoom out for a moment and think, I don't want to say, what are we doing here, man? But like, zoom out and be like, what is our goal? Like, put aside all the, oh, I feel like I should have been rich already. Put aside all the, oh, I can't believe I never trust anyone in the community because I keep getting scammed by some random coin coming out. Put aside like whatever other stuff going on. I know it's hard to do, but just be like, what am I supposed to do here? Like, what do I want out of this? And how am I trying to get there? Am I doing what is what I'm doing effective? Is what I'm doing attracting people, or is what I'm doing, PvP, that kind of thing? And everyone has different incentives. Everyone, some are more aligned in one way or another. But, and I know, Richard not being around and streaming anymore, it's kind of hard to be like, oh, before it was so easy. We had a leader and he said stuff and we cheered and then we went and did it and things were good. Even when prices were going down, it was like, oh, it's fine. But I really think that PulseChain at this point is at this, hey, like, we're going to make it or we're not going to make it. And I believe we're going to make it. And it's just, I think we're going to make it harder, like harder in the sense of like more, if we're able to just zoom out and be like, what do we want to do here? Like, do we want to make this the greatest ecosystem on earth? Do we want to onboard people? Like, literally, I was watching a Somi video the other day, and he was talking about how like he hit one of his theories was like, he noticed that some people didn't even want to onboard other people. Like, they just wanted to exit and all that stuff. And I'm like, man, how do we, people talk about people dumping and all this stuff too. Oh, we got to get rid of them and get rid of the bad whales and hope that good whales buy or all this stuff. I don't want to have to start shedding boat anchors of just, just like not aligned incentives to make this place great. Like, I don't want to keep going up the ladder of things we need to get rid of in order for, price go up, in order for onboarding, in order for whatever it is. So I think just, it probably is a good time for everyone to just be like, why am I here? What am I doing? What do I want to do? And what am I willing to do to get it? Because I don't see a lot of reflection. I see a lot of, banter. I see a lot of drama. I see a lot of just not productive stuff happening and a lot of distraction, but I don't see a lot of effective, like, onboarding. I don't see a lot of like, just, I don't know, hope, belief. It's more of like, if you believe we're on the cusp of a new bull market, is this how you should be acting? Like, is this how you want to onboard the next version, the next group of retail? So yeah, I mean, that's kind of like, I want to hit on a couple of different verticals. That's one. I feel like the onboarding has been harder lately, and it's been one of those things we just need to get out of our own way. Like, that's no other way to put it. Just got to get out of our own way if we want people to actually come in. And if you're just waiting on whales with a bunch of ETH to buy everything, then maybe that happens. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it happens on your timeline. Maybe it doesn't. But at least, I would say, at least don't detract. Like, at least be neutral. At least, like, don't take away from what everyone else is, like, wants this place to be. Because I want this place to be Hexco. I signed up for Hexco. I came here for the sovereign money to make a lot of it and keep a lot of it and help a lot of other people do the same thing. Not in a financial advice sort of way, but just through ideals and like not scams and everything else. So it's been like, I feel like, I know people probably feel like they're walking on landmines or trying to dodge them from time to time, but there's still plenty of good people out there who want this place to succeed. Hopefully you can see that and not leave. Hopefully it doesn't take away. It's kind of like the classroom. You got the disruptive kids that are making everyone else learn less. Not the teacher can't be as effective. Hopefully, a lot of the good kids will stay in the class and they'll, go and people can learn from them, and we can all just like graduate together. I'm going to go with that analogy. I'm going to stick with it for about 10 seconds. But
that's good,
hope you
bro.
guys know what I mean.
Like that.
Yeah.
No, like the students becoming the new tutors and the kids in the class clowns distracting from like whatever the core message is in the direction that the class should be going. I like that. That kind of that hits all the bases.
Agreed. I think the synopsis of your state of the pulse chain there is that what we're dealing with right now is not a technology question. It's a people question. And it's whether the people inside the space are given the right message, or we just need more people from outside the space to come in. But by the way, we have a comment from Agent J here. He says, "You're right on the money, brother. If you think you're going to make gains, sustainable gains, by a whale moving around some ETH, you probably lost the point of PulseChain."
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Finding the point of PulseChain. Like, if you don't know what the point of PulseChain is, again, I would say go back and take a look and be like, what am I? Not only what is it, but what am I doing to help us get there? Like, that's the thing that, and you could easily say, again, I have sympathy for everyone out there who's been here for a while. They've been waiting. They feel like they've delayed enough gratification. They put in the time, they put in the capital. They just, maybe their pocketbooks went down, or they oversacked, or they're just see other stuff go up and they're tired of waiting. All that's there. However, this is I don't want to say this time is different, but I feel like Richard said something the other day in the documentary. I don't know if I was talking to you guys about it or not, but in the chat, but I remember he was like, everyone in the world will tell you the same thing, but actually this time is the thing. I really think that hit home when I heard that. I was like, man, that is a great way to put it. And not just like this hopium, like, oh my gosh, I've discovered like this new element where I'm going to, all this stuff. It was like, that is kind of the way, I don't know, that's what I believe. Like that's kind of the summary, is like, been following this guy for a long time. I think he has some of the best intentions. We don't know, we can't explain or know everything he's doing, nor should we. Like, we're not a fly on the wall. We're not in his inner circle. So why would we understand every single thing that happens and how much he can talk about all that stuff too? But I do believe he wants to be a force for good in the world. And I do believe that he has put together something special and a community that it's not always easy, but I think in the end, a lot of people will see, hopefully, the glory they saw with Hex before, and even much more in a much broader sense, not just for prize performance, but really like shaping. I think this time, taking the time to like everyone shape themselves with SciVive, growing as a person. I think without PulseChain, without Hex, without Richard, I think I would be a different person. I think I really would be. I don't think I would be as capable as I am, not just in the monetary sense, but in the like the person sense and the ambition sense and everything else, without, having the experiences that we had so far, for better or for worse.
Yeah, a lot of good points. And I think you kind of brought up a lot of sort of the some of the infighting and some of the things that have been going on, some of the grifting that's been happening inside the community. And it's like, hey, are we trying to build what this technology was created for? Are we here just to pump my own singular bags? Am I just trying to take wealth from one person's pocket or from one little bucket and move it into this other little bucket because I get more of it then? You know what I mean? Or are we actually trying to onboard more people? Are we trying to build a strong foundation? Are we trying to rise everybody up as the price of PulseChain and Hex move up as well? Because, I really think that's Richard Hart's ultimate vision, is not one person or a few people make it like you get with venture capitalists in TradFi or in a lot of other types of crypto chains. But look, the regular singular person that works hard, that believes, can become something more. And like we always talk about in this show, and you said it too, it's not just about pumping your bags. It's not just about getting rich, because if you aren't, mentally capable of having that richness, then it's not going to help your life in any way. All it's going to do is make you more unhappy and alienate you more from your peers in a way that you don't even understand how it's happening. But for us, and you mentioned it, it's body, mind, spirit, and finance, right? There's a lot of pillars that you need to build on if you want to be successful, if you want to live a better life, because money in itself isn't going to help you live a better life unless you have everything else under control and everything else properly aligned so that you're rising the tide together in your life. Now, PulseChain's that same thing, right? It's like we're all supposed to be helping rise this tide together. But when people are fighting, look, that's going to happen when there's red candles. I get that. But what doesn't need to happen is grifting, people, scamming, money being moved around to pump coins, when really we should be focusing on how to onboard people, how we can be more positive, how we can be a light to the community, how we can better other people's lives through, be it book club, be it proper advice, being it just being there for the community. And believe me, we have had some mental quandaries within our chat sometimes where people are like mentally exploding, like they're literally dying, not physically, mentally. And look, we've had a lot of people in our community there to help them work through those challenges. It could just be a case of the red candles, could be a case of the bear markets, or it could be worse life stuff. And it's a community that, built on trust, can help each other grow. And it's that community that Richard Hart has been trying to build, in my opinion. And we need to get back to that, as you're trying to say. And hey, let's get back to what is this? What is PulseChain? What is Hex? And what is the point of this community? And if we look at that and we work together, we don't need Richard Hart to pump our bags, because we can pump our own bags through building of relationships, onboarding, creation of technology, et cetera, et cetera. Now, we want Richard Hart to be a part of this community because he's the leader, right? But that doesn't mean that we are helpless ourselves.
Yeah. I mean, but we have everything we need. I mean, PulseChain is set up to onboard everyone. I mean, we got copies of all the coins. We got forks of all the products. We got people building stuff all the time. We got new, technology, all that stuff coming out. We have the community. We have people with capital. There's nothing else we need. I mean, other than to onboard and take advantage of getting other people into our ecosystem to where we can actually build things up instead of just trade money altogether. And that's not to like, oh, we need to get more people in so we can take their money. It's not about that. Every system you need to, everything's a Ponzi system, right? Life is a Ponzi system. Everything you need to grow, or you don't survive eventually. So air growth is the only thing that it's been missing from this whole thing. We have all the products. We have all the teams aligned to be successful. We're just the growth part. That's the only piece that has yet to start taking a significant move. Early this year, we had some pumps and stuff. And then now, I think, didn't Richard tweet about it? We're back at SEC lows and all that stuff, almost 1 year into the process. So the growth part, that's the only thing we're missing.
I think that was a really interesting tweet. And look, I think you're right. But what do you think he meant by that tweet? Out of curiosity, do you have any thoughts?
My bullish instinct is, hey, I wonder if we go up from here. And then my don't get my hopes up instinct is, yeah, he's just pointing out a fact. Like he pointed out, July 8th was another date too, and was August 11th is another date too, and it's kind of like, kind of giving updates kind of thing. So you never know. I mean, honestly, it's like, especially when we had the runs early this year, I would look at some tweets and I'd be like, yeah, I don't read too much into that one. And then a week or so later, I can look back at it, something big will happen. Some big pump will happen. I'll look back into tweets and be like, whoa, like all these pieces. Oh, that was a hint of maybe he saw something going on or otherwise was happening. And like, oh, maybe I should have paid more attention to that one. So you never know. It's kind of like crypto has this, has built-in FOMO where you literally, even if you recognize it, you kind of don't want to not participate because you're afraid of fear of missing out. So whether that's, the price or coins or paying attention or otherwise, I said the other day, I was like, I'm jealous of anyone who can just, wait 6 months. For example, if you believe in 6 months, we'll be going to the moon, all that stuff. Go offline for 6 months, don't pay attention to anything, come back and just enjoy it. I don't know. It's hardly an option for streamers or if you want to make a contribution that way. I could stop doing it anytime. I don't owe anyone anything, no obligation to anyone else out there otherwise. But every once in a while, I'm like, man, that sounds nice, doesn't it?
But so that involves touching grass and getting outside and off the charts. I think it's very hard for some people to do. If we got a little, sorry, Will, I know we got a little bit more time. I do want to cover one last thing with you. So we mentioned it at the beginning, but the GoRealDeFi.com stuff. This happened, or you made this product, or this tool rather, around the time that Richard Hart fully decentralized PulseChain. I think at that point, a lot of the community did feel a little bit rudderless because RH was gone for so long, no streams, and then we're going to a fully decentralized world in PulseChain. What was it around that time that really inspired you to make that tool? And what do you think the purpose or the point of the decentralization was?
Dude, first question, onboarding sucks, bro. And second question is, decentralization good? It was literally, I always say like, it was 2 steps forward, decentralization, 1 step back for onboarding, something like that. You get the gist. That's what it was. I mean, like when I did it, like when I first saw it happen, it happened. If anyone remembers this, it wasn't like it all happened at one time. First was the Hex app, and everyone was like, whoa, the Hex app got decentralized. Like, well, IPFS, what's that? And then I don't know if you guys caught it, but I had the Gold Key and KDP asked me to host a debate of them of like, is this a good idea or bad idea? And I did it. Yeah, it looks like Brandon saw that.
I watched that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was again, does anyone even remember that? It's like that was the thing that happened. It was like, oh, we're all debating, is this a good idea or bad idea? Like as if that was going to change anything anyways. But
it's already done.
Yeah. But at that point, I didn't know. Like, I was kind of like, oh, well, I guess maybe something's next. Maybe he'll do something else. Oh, he can't do PulseX. And I was like, just technical side, I was like, well, maybe he can do PulseX. I don't know. So then he started doing the other ones. I don't know what came next, but he started doing each one. And after that, I was like, okay, well, I think this was right before. Yeah, no, I think I did make it right after he did like the fourth or fifth one. Because there's, I'm not going to name all that. There's like 6 different ones that the IPFS apps. But anyways, the point was, when I went there, I was like, man, nobody knows how to use this stuff. I'm getting so many questions. As a tech person, as a nerd, I love this stuff. Like, this is awesome. Like, yeah, it's IPFS. It's cool. I mean, I don't really like the links. That's not as pretty to look at, but whatever. Like, this is a cool decentralization thing. But then it really like sunk in that, man, this is really bad. And for onboarding, like, this is like a problem. Like, I literally looked at it as a problem. Like, this came in the middle of like us trying to like pick ourselves up and like do everything we can and just wait longer and just, do everything we can to onboard people. Oh, like literally, I'm like, without green candles, I'm racking my brain to figure out what can I do to onboard people. And now we don't have a link to give them. We just got to do them on this website and hope they click the right one, that kind of perspective. So yeah, I was just like, you know what? I guess I'm going to create a website because I can do this. Like, I've had the experience doing this before. I've been working in tech, my specialization is security. So I think I know how to build it, as securely as possible. And I went through a few different iterations, but I finally got it to a point where I was like, these are verifiable gateways. Like, it's just taking the website that you would get if you clicked on it, but putting it in a nice looking URL that you could share, you can bookmark, you can verify yourself, the hashes, all that stuff. And that was very important to me because I know, it's easy to just be like, yeah, here's a link, you can go use this gateway or whatever. But to make it where people can verify it for themselves, like, again, the true sense of decentralization, not getting scammed, all that stuff. Because you type something in Google, scams pop up, click on it. We had all the bridge, hacks and stuff like that, or the bridge scam links and all that stuff before. I didn't want it to turn into that. So anyways, I finally got it to a point where I'm like, all right, I think this is good. I added some auto update features. I don't even touch it these days unless I update one of the links. Like, I added the faucet to it the other day. But everything is running like autonomously. I have scripts in the background that will every time. Like, I think recently, the devs pushed a new version of Hex, the Hex app, and I didn't touch anything. I literally, every time I see it happen, I see somebody tweet about it, I'll click on the app, I'll click on Go Real DeFi, click verify hash, and I'll see, oh, it did automatically update, and always makes me smile a little bit, like, oh, cool, it's all working all the time.
That's super cool.
So that happened. And yeah, and then I kind of just got people question the security side of it. And I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I've racked my brain enough. I'm a security guy. Like, I've built it as securely as possible and practical. And I've let you verify yourself. So I haven't heard any argument against using it. I think in the beginning, people were kind of suspicious because it uses iframes, but I'm like, yeah, I mean, iframes just technology. You can use it, better or worse, all that stuff too. And that was my big contribution to the community. Late last year or I felt like I wanted it to be, at least. I think it's turned out to be a contribution. It looks like, objectively speaking, but that was something I was like, here's how I'm effective. Here's how I see a problem, what I think is a problem, and here's how I help onboard people. And I've got a ton of compliments from people. They say that send it to all their onboards. I send it to my onboards, not to onboard a lot of people these days in real life, because isn't everyone in from the SAC phases? But yeah, I think all the new onboarding people, hopefully it works well for them. But that was my like, oh crap, maybe I'm a devish at this point. Never been like a dev. Maybe I can be like a pseudo dev right now, and I kind of contribute in these ways.
For sure. I know there are a bunch of larger accounts out there shouting to the high heavens about PulseChain and real DeFi and whatnot. But when it comes to actually building the nuts and bolts tools that people can use to truly onboard instead of just be stuck in decentralized nowhere land, I think you take the cake with that. So absolutely hats off to you, man.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for making the tool. We love it.
Yeah, I mean, I do too. That's the thing. I want to make something that I want this. I want to use it. I mean, selfishly, if nothing else, if nobody else used it, I would want to use it. Like I just made it like nice enough where I think other people would like to share it too. And there's this funny thing of like, you know, I think so many things are on a spectrum. I think, you know, I try not to think in terms of right and wrong, good and bad. I try to think of like trade-offs and a spectrum. And for example, this entire, you know, Go Real DeFi, it is a website that is, you know, it's centralized in a way, I guess you would say, but I don't like this. We need to be completely decentralized because it's kind of like, I think these things can exist on a spectrum, just like decentralization. I mean, some things are more important than others, but for this, I really think we would lose so many onboards who don't have an easy way to do this, who don't care about IPFS, who don't want to click on a crazy looking link. I think the trade-off is getting them in and getting them to feel comfortable. If we never get them in, we can't teach them about MetaMask and DeFi. Same thing. You could use the same example for centralized exchanges. I incline away from them. However, I could make a very good case, and anyone else could too, that if we never get people in with centralized exchanges, they're never going to get into DeFi because they're just, they got to take these different steps. So anyways, I just think that mental model is something I use all the time. Is you know, not good, bad, not right, wrong. It's like a spectrum. What are your trade-offs? What are you going to get? Is something going to give you, like, what do you value more and where do you incline towards?
It's easy to give someone a website. That's all I'm going to say. Is like, that was the one thing when it changed, is like, I wish that I had a website to give someone, and then you built it. And I was like, this dude just nailed it. Look, he created decentralized so that PulseChain and Hex can run on decentrally forever. That doesn't mean that people can't build on top of that. That's what we're here for, right? That's all I have to say.
Alrighty, well, ladies and gentlemen, we are coming to the end of the show. Some of us got to run, mainly our very special guest, and we are very appreciative for his time. So we're going to do one last round of shout-outs, and then we're going to open the floor up to Mr. RHMax himself for a final word before we get out of here. So with that being said, Mrs. Producer, if you do not mind, we're ready to go when you are. We got Ramon Carrillo joining us. He says, "Sup, crypto fam?" Good to see you, sir. On to the next one. Agent J came in here with this, says, as a salesman, you give away your reputation along with your product. You transact your fiat and you transact with trust. You can scam people out of their money, but your reputation will precede you.
I've got some quick little thing to add to that. And this is just bouncing off of what you were talking about earlier, RHMax, where you were talking about if you just stop streaming, all of a sudden it costs you nothing. It will cost you a small part of your reputation. When people do things consistently a whole bunch of the time and then they stop doing it, like when a person changes from one thing into another thing, it costs reputation. So it's worth considering. Not to say that we owe the PulseChain community anything. We're doing this because we love it and whatnot, but like that, there it is, one of the hidden costs of changing things. So Agent J was absolutely right with his reputation comment there.
I was looking at actually the angle I look at for that is it costs me edge. Like if I were to think about, you know, if I were to stop streaming, if I wasn't up to date on everything all the time, then I would feel like that's my edge is, like streaming, taking information off of Twitter, sharing it, synthesizing it, building this stuff, connecting with people, talking to people, see how they're feeling about things. That's the thing I would think I would lose the most is that. However, yeah, I mean, there's definitely a valid view of like, you know, people really valuing consistency. To me, I try not to, again, and nothing, it's not like, this is just something I try to do is when I see people who have taken a break or otherwise, I try to, I mean, definitely I'm not going to be like, oh, look at this person there. They stopped streaming. So when they come back, they're like, we're not going to welcome back. I try to be more, I want them to, when they do come back, first of all, I want them to come back. So I'm not want to be like, oh,
reward the good behavior. Yeah.
Yeah. I want them to come back. So I want to give them a reason to come back and kind of be welcoming, but also I totally understand when people are like, oh no, you streamed all the time and then you stop streaming. Like, you know, that is a drive with people. I totally get it too, but I guess I just kind of optimize on the side of what is going to help us grow more than it's kind of like, I don't know. I think this perspective is more of kind of the, I don't know, it kind of reminds me of like the reward and punishment type of thing of if we just let anyone get by with it, then everyone will start doing it more, that type of thing, which I think is pretty effective as well. anyways, all right, this is going to turn into another conversation, but I totally
Yeah,
get it. I try for myself. I try to just be like, yeah, if you want to take a break, it's fine. Maybe in the back of my mind, I'd be like, oh, where were you? But I'm going to try to help you come back in and succeed as much as possible. Cause I think that's that kind of thing. That's what I like.
For true. Much agreed. Old leadership lesson I learned as a JO was whatever you allow becomes the standard. So there you go. Alrighty, we got 4 more to go, then the floor is all yours, Max. Dre Sims says, no diversity on this panel. Well, brother, there would be more if you started streaming, so how about that?
I never saw
Next
that
up, we got,
before.
yeah, we got Red Squirrel saying, oi, oi! Ozzy, 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 oi, oi, oi. Is that the reference? We'll see. Good friend of the channel, Moonpilled Rational Optics. He says, hey, D-Gens, still working or else I would stick around. Good to see you, brother. Glad you make the stream, and we will catch you in Replay Gang. And then last but not least, we have another good friend of ours, US Crypto Boogie, saying, sup, monkeys? Good to see you, Boogie. I know you're definitely out there stacking dry powder as well, so thanks for stopping by, and we hope that we have provided you with some excellent value, and we've had a great time hanging out with Max, which, by the way, good sir, where can the people find you? What do you have going on? And any relevant links you'd like to spread to the people?
I think you guys did an excellent job with the show, and I really appreciate the interview. I have been streaming less, and I have been doing less guest streams and stuff too, but I always appreciate getting invited on and yeah, just out here trying to build more. I've been spending a lot of time doing that, and waiting on the next chapter for PulseChain. And I talked a lot about the drama and people like zooming out and stuff like that, but this place is still the best place in the world to me. Like it really is. Like I think we can speak, or at least I'll speak for myself. I like to speak objectively about things, and it's not sugarcoating, but I don't like to be like, oh yeah, I don't know. I feel like talking about these things is good and valuable. Like I'd want to hear it from people if they felt like something was going on in the community or could be better otherwise. So I'm glad to have these types of conversations. And yeah, I feel like I guess I'll show you my shirt too. If you guys see, can you read the bottom?
Nice. I can't read the bottom.
Does it say buy your freedom?
Buy for freedom? Oh, buy your freedom,
So,
yeah.
It says, SciVive, all we really need is time, buy your freedom, and fun longevity research to make it last.
Love it.
Very good.
Yeah. So I guess I'll end on that. I think, again, I really appreciate you guys just streaming and just covering SciVive and just being like, interesting people to listen to and have these discussions. And yeah, I think the more that PulseChain has people around that honestly refuse to lose. I keep going back to that. Like I refuse to lose. I'm not going to lose. Like this is the place I put my time, sweat, capital, energy, passion. I want to build stuff here. Ups and downs. That's all part of life anyways, but this is the place. So I know it's not always easy to hang on to that and be inspired and all that, but I think it's one thing that we can help each other do too, is just inspire each other, like lift people up when they need it, forgive people, welcome people, like, think of how to be productive, how to be useful, how to have utility. That's what Richard that's what kind of made me get into streaming. Is like, I remember so many times people would ask Richard on stream, how can I have utility? How can I, how can I, contribute? And he's like, oh, sorry. They would ask, how can I contribute in the community? He would say, have utility, go do something of value. And I was like, never streamed before. Maybe I'll get into that. So, yeah, I think that's where it got me here. And I'm bullish on this place, PulseChain.com.
Perfect. Well, I know we were coming up on your heart out, but did just want to say thank you so much for coming on. This has been a blast for us, and we would love to have you back anytime to talk about whatever you want. And besides, I know it's always going to be a good conversation with you. So if you got to run, go for it. We'll close out the stream without you. But other than that, again, thank you so much for the time, man.
Of course.
Yeah, I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Take it easy, guys.
Yeah,
Right.
We'll see you, bro.